Budget 2026 is not just about tax slabs or government spending numbers. It arrives at a time when global geopolitics, trade wars, energy security, and inflation are directly shaping household finances. What happens in Washington, global energy markets, or international trade negotiations can now influence electricity bills, fuel prices, job security, and savings in India. This budget must respond not only to domestic needs but also to global uncertainty. Most budgets deal with growth and welfare. Budget 2026 must also manage external shocks. India faces a world where trade protectionism is rising, supply chains are fragile, and energy costs are volatile. Therefore, Budget 2026 operates at 5 interconnected levels: global politics, trade flows, energy prices, inflation control, and household purchasing power. This interconnectedness makes it one of the most strategically important budgets in recent years. During the Trump presidency, the United States aggressively used tariffs to protect domestic industries. Higher tariffs on imports disrupted global trade, increased costs, and triggered retaliation from other countries. If similar protectionist policies return, global trade volumes may slow and uncertainty may rise again. For export-oriented economies like India, this creates both risks and strategic opportunities. Tariffs rarely remain confined to one country. Higher U.S. tariffs reduce global demand, weaken currencies, and increase volatility in commodity prices. For India, this can mean higher import costs for fuel, electronics, machinery, and fertilizers, pressure on exports such as IT services, pharmaceuticals, and engineering goods, and indirect inflation transmitted through global supply chains. Budget 2026 is expected to reduce India's vulnerability to trade shocks. This includes strengthening domestic manufacturing, encouraging export diversification beyond a few markets, and improving logistics efficiency. Policy tools such as targeted incentives, trade agreements with non-U.S. partners, and supply chain resilience measures are expected to play a key role. Energy is no longer just an infrastructure issue. It is an inflation issue. Fuel and electricity costs affect transport, food prices, industrial production, and services. Any volatility in energy prices immediately shows up in household budgets. Budget 2026 therefore treats energy security as a macroeconomic stabilizer. Renewable energy is expanding rapidly, but it has limitations. Solar and wind depend on weather and storage capacity. Nuclear energy, in contrast, provides stable, continuous baseload power with minimal carbon emissions. For a growing economy like India, nuclear energy offers reliability, price stability, and long-term energy independence. India currently operates roughly 7 gigawatts of nuclear capacity, contributing a small but critical share of electricity. Long-term plans aim to cross 20 gigawatts and beyond, largely through indigenous reactor technology. Budgetary support is essential for reactor construction, safety upgrades, fuel cycle development, and skilled manpower. When Budget 2026 allocates capital expenditure to nuclear and grid infrastructure, the impact is multi-layered. First, it reduces dependence on imported fossil fuels. Second, it stabilizes power prices over time. Third, it shields the economy from global energy price shocks, directly protecting consumers. Inflation is not just a macroeconomic number, it is lived daily. Electricity bills, fuel prices, transport costs, food inflation, and even school fees are influenced by energy costs. Stable power supply and controlled fuel imports help soften inflation without explicit subsidies. This is why energy investment acts as indirect household relief. Tax cuts are visible and politically attractive. Inflation control is quieter, but often more powerful. When inflation remains low, real income increases even without changes in tax slabs. Budget 2026 therefore focuses not only on taxation, but on cost of living stability as a parallel strategy. For salaried households, the impact is cumulative. Stable inflation means predictable EMIs, controlled education expenses, manageable transport costs, and better savings outcomes. Rather than short-term giveaways, Budget 2026 aims to protect purchasing power over time. The broad priorities are expected to include strong capital expenditure, energy and infrastructure security, fiscal discipline to maintain investor confidence, and targeted social support rather than broad subsidies. This reflects a long-term growth mindset rather than election-driven populism. No strategy is risk-free. Global recession, retaliatory tariffs, delays in nuclear project execution, and fiscal pressure remain real threats. Managing these risks requires careful sequencing, regulatory clarity, and sustained political commitment. Budget 2026 connects geopolitics, energy, and your personal finances more closely than ever before. Understanding this budget helps you plan, not panic. At the Institute of Neo-Finance, our goal is to help you see beyond headlines and understand how policy decisions shape your everyday life. Subscribe to stay informed, prepared, and financially aware.